Okay, we've got a few people just starting to come in now and trickle in. All right, we've hit the hour. Let's give it 30 more seconds and we will get going.
Thank you, everyone, for joining on time.
Yeah, we do tend to get those sort of joining late as we go through. So
Yeah.
okay, should we kick things off?
Let's go.
Let's kick it off. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for those that have joined us on time, and hopefully we should have a few more coming through as we get into it. And hopefully you're in the right place, beyond buzzwords, building real AI capability at work, which forms part of our AI Academy series. And this is the second session that we've done on this. So if you join the first one, this will tail onto that. And if you haven't seen the first one, we can send that to you as well, so you get to see that. So I just want to check for those that have joined us that you can all hear my voice okay. Just give me a thumbs up. Please do use the chat. Let me know that you can hear me. Use any of the emojis that you've got available to you, and also that you can see the screen okay as well. So again, just give me a thumbs up. And then finally, I just want to make sure that we're all here ready to learn, have a bit of fun. I know we've got some different experts in the room, and there's a lot of thought leadership out there as part of this. So we'd love to get your input, get your insights as well. So we're going to be using the chat throughout and asking questions as we go through. Brilliant. Thanks for all the thumbs up I can see there. Brilliant. So we've got 60 minutes today. Just to give you a bit of insight in terms of the agenda. For those that don't know us, we're going to give you a quick whistle-stop tour of who Nullscape are, if you don't know us. And we're also then going to dive into AI fluency versus confidence in AI and talk a bit about that as we go through. And then we're going to talk about some of the AI best case practices as well. So we're going to give you some real examples where we've applied, implemented some of the key aspects within this series and how that's helped organizations and have a discussion around that. And then we'll finish with some Q&A, but Q&A is at the back end that you can see here, but please do ask questions all the way through. We've got people that can answer those questions and address those throughout the session. A bit about us. I'm Jason Smith. I lead the growth for Europe and the Americas in Nullscape. And joining me is going to be Kathy Jane. Kathy, do you want to give us a little bit of an intro?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. Welcome, everyone. I'm Kathy Jen, and I head strategic initiatives at Nordscape, and I work very closely with the product team. And I've been working with the team on launching our AI Academy as well.
Thanks, Kathy. Brilliant. So, for those that don't know us, we are one of the world's largest experiential learning technology companies. There's two bits that I really want to highlight in that sort of strap line, which is the first is experiential. We really believe in learning by doing as part of the approach. That's where we believe learning really sticks, where behaviors start to really change from knowing something into doing something. And the technology part and how we do that is through our digital immersive simulations. And we're going to give you a bit of a glimpse of that as we go through today. You'll see how that's brought to life with organizations. You can also see some of our presence across the globe. So we do have 5 direct offices across the globe, and we've also got a number of different partners that help support in other countries as well, with over 500 plus facilitators, coaches that are helping implement these with inside organizations. On the left-hand side there, you can see some of the clients that we have the fortune of working with around the globe. This really fuels sort of the pool of insight knowledge that we get to share with you on today and some of our learnings of what we see globally. And we also like to share this because we really are industry agnostic as well. It doesn't matter, with an organizations in sort of finance, within manufacturing, retail, IT. We help support all of those types of organizations, and we're very proud of some of the accolades that we've got on the right-hand side as well. That's enough about us. Let's dive into, oh yeah, sorry, to mention, I want to share a key point as well around what we really try and enable inside organizations. And this forms part of our discussion today. There really are two key components which we enable and help support organizations become future ready on. The first that you can see on the left-hand side is around core skills. So we support organizations in terms of areas around leadership, development as part of that. The second part in which we're going to be diving into today is around the digital and AI readiness simulations that fit into those core skills, and also around some of the culture skills there that you can see in the list on the screen. And that forms very much part of our passport approach, which allows organizations to address either one of these needs or multiple of these needs using our Active Learn platform. And then on the right-hand side, we support organizations very much on performance-based areas that they're trying to drive. So it could be around bringing to life our values and our culture, taking those statements from off the wall into daily practice. And we have immersive experience that are custom designed for those organizations to really help live and breathe those. It could be around domain readiness in terms of thinking about compliance or sales or service, and also role readiness. So if you're thinking about those in your organization that are transitioning into new roles, we help support there as well in terms of role readiness. And that's through our platform called Genie, which enables you to build some of the custom simulations and experiences for your people. So let's dive in. We love to start with a bit of insight from you and get the juices flowing, if you like, and hear from the audience. So we're going to share a poll now, and there's going to be a couple of questions that you will see. And we really want to understand where you are at in terms of your AI readiness journey as part of this. So we'll launch that now, and let's have a look, see what some of the results are.
Geez, I think we're having a little bit of a tech issue. Oh, there it is.
Poll one, I can see that come up.
Right. So I think a lot of experiments with AI already. So no one's
Yes.
living under a rock.
Yes. Is your company experimenting with AI or implementing it? I'm guessing what the answer might be on this, but you never know. So
There is a lot of anxiety as well. So we do meet organizations that are like, oh, I don't want to do this right now. We're going to wait.
yeah. So we've got the results, and so as you'd expect, 100% of those on the call today have said yes, we do experimentation on AI and implementing it inside our organizations. That's good to hear. We're not, like you said, Kathy, we haven't got anyone that's sleeping under a rock at the moment and not experiencing that.
All right. And we'd also like to understand from you, I think, what are you able as L&D or as a function that's enabling others to understand if how your employees or how your organization is actually using that AI?
Yeah, so how confident would you be in answering this? If someone asked you and your employees how AI is being used on the ground, could you really confidently say yes, absolutely, or we've got a rough idea, but we're not quite sure? Or yeah, what would be the answer?
Very close. All right, we'll give it 10 more seconds.
So you can see the answers here, Kathy. So I'll take your lead in terms of what comes out. Okay, so there we go, mixed bag.
I mean, I think a lot of the people that have tuned in today, they have a rough idea of what's happening, which is a good start, in
Yeah.
my opinion. And then there's five people that say they absolutely know what's going on. For those of you that don't, I think that's okay as well. But maybe some homework with the business and tech leaders might be helpful.
Yeah, exactly. All right, should we move on?
Yes, let's do that. So, for this webinar, we didn't necessarily want to get into concepts for AI and what's happening, but really take the hype that is there, debunk it from all the learning and experiences that we've had at Noldscape. And we're going to use a fun analogy to do that. So, let's imagine this. You are walking into your office space. If you have one, anyone that's remote, maybe you've gone into the office space that your organization does have. And most mornings you do walk to the office, but this time you happen to cross the parking lot. And when you cross the parking lot, you realize, why does everyone have a car? You notice everybody in your organization has suddenly parked cars around, right? And there might be a couple of Fiats, a couple of Bentleys, some really fancy cars, powerful cars that learners probably shouldn't be getting behind, right? And you're confused because you're like, most of my colleagues don't know how to drive, and I know this, but they've still got cars parked. And you head into work, still confused, wondering what's going on, and you decide to ask different colleagues and peers of yours what's going on. So you go in, you see a group of your colleagues standing together, maybe having a meeting, chatting, and you ask them, "Hey, um, did you learn how to drive? Why do you have a car?" And they all say, "Yeah, we've been given cars and I don't really know how to drive, so I'm just watching YouTube videos to figure out how I should stop driving." Another one of your colleagues says, "Yeah, I don't know either, so I've just been looking at Reddit and seeing what tips people might have for me." Another one of your colleagues says, "Hey, my manager said that it's really important that I have a car and I drive it. They gave me like a crash course on it, so I'm just going to use that now and start driving my car." And then your last colleague says, "Hey, I don't even know what good driving looks like. So I'll just figure it out as I go." And at this point, you're just like, wait a second, this doesn't look good because a lot of people around me have actually skipped driving school and they've been given cars, right? Um, and it's time to go home. Everyone is expected to drive back. You can't leave your car in the parking lot. And at this point, you're wondering, I don't know how to drive, but I know that you shouldn't be skipping driving school. And Jason, just for fun, what happens if we skip driving school and we get behind the wheel?
Well, I'm guessing those that do get in the car, if they do decide to, because I'm imagining a few people would just freeze and not do anything. They'd sort of sit in the
Yeah.
car for a while and not move off the forecourt. But those that do, there's going to be a little bit of carnage, maybe some broken lampposts and some dented wheels and bonnets. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if we were to stop having driving lessons and driving tests and people just got behind cars, you'd actually see a lot more accidents on the street. And like you said, there's people that have just frozen. They're like, I'm not doing this. And then you might have one or two people that will figure it out and just drive away. But the reason we use this analogy is because AI is kind of like driving a car, right? The problem is in access. I think everyone can rent a car or buy one. It's honestly learning how to use it. In this case, learning how to drive the car. And what we're realizing is most teams, most companies have skipped that stage where they should actually be in driving school or learning how to use AI, and they've directly moved into using these tools without really understanding what it takes to use them. So now we've got people that think they know AI, that think they can use AI effectively, but is that really the case? And we've seen this before. I think this FOMO around using AI in the business or the organization or waiting for it to transform your organization, it isn't new. I think every few years we do go through this phase where organizations find new technology and they're like, okay, we're going to implement it. And implementation is up for question. People's capabilities up for question as well. So I started with, of course, this started with the dot-com boom, but I'm going to start with Excel spreadsheets in the 1980s and 1990s. I think everyone suddenly wanted to start using Excel. People wanted to start using pivot tables, but even now, when we look at a lot of different employees that we work with or team members that we work with, their proficiency in Excel is really limited. And of course, there are some people that need to know how to use it a little bit better than the rest of us, but it's still fairly basic. And a lot of teams scrambled initially to start actually using it. And then we saw this at scale with ERP systems, so SAP Oracle systems in the 1990s and 2000s. And companies spent millions on implementing these. And McKinsey did a very interesting study in 2012 where they said that 70% of all implementations failed in the last 20 years before 2012. Jason, you want to take a guess on why that happened? Oh, you're on mute.
Let me come off mute. I'm guessing in most cases, similar to other areas of implementation, it's not down to the sort of the strategy and the process. Often it's the human element. It's getting people to adopt these processes, these
Yeah.
things that we've implemented.
Exactly. It was a capability issue. People, the system was in place. People didn't know how to use it. They didn't want to use it. There was resistance to transitioning to ERP systems as well. And because of that, I think a lot of Fortune 500s have lost hundreds and millions of dollars on ERP systems, and it's a problem even now. I think the only companies that benefited from that were probably SAP and Oracle.
Yeah.
A more recent example of this was social media marketing. So in the early 2010s, Facebook, Meta, as we know them now, started running ads for online lead generation, and a lot of organizations started scrambling to figure out how to do this. How do we figure out the algorithm? How do we generate leads that our team can actually use, customers that we can reach out to? And it took a really long time for organizations to actually figure it out. And I think a lot of organizations, even now, haven't figured it out. So, what you're seeing with AI is essentially a trend that's been happening across the board with different types of technology. It's just that it's a lot more amplified now, and we see a lot more FOMO within organizations and leaders on wanting to use AI. And Jason, just your read on this situation. Why do you think it's so amplified this time around, even though we've been through this cycle before?
Yeah, it's interesting because as you said, this has happened in the past. It's something we've seen. I think where this is really amplified to go into that point is because the risk and reward is so high. I think it's causing the tension there amongst organizations and people adopting levels of AI. The reward clearly is we're seeing others, sort of do their work easier, better. It's supporting them in their role as part of that. In some cases, it might be adding some complexity. And that, adds to some of the risks as well in terms of privacy, data, stewardship around AI, and all of the risks that come with it. So I think there's this balance where people are trying to really wrestle with, I really want to get the rewards. I don't want to miss out, miss the boat on this. But at the same time, I'm being really cautious because I just don't know how this is going to play out. And some of the consequences feel quite heightened in terms of what we could potentially see.
I agree. And I think it's not a mindset issue anymore. I think it's misplaced confidence where a lot of organizations are really pushing that technology onto their learners, their employees. And it's not even a tool gap at this point. People think they know how to use it. People think their teams know how to use it. But is that really the situation when we start working with AI or we start training for AI and that's what's up for question? And we've been working with different organizations around the world on understanding where they are on AI. And we've realized that confidence, honestly, isn't equal to capability. So between the time that organizations bring these problems to us to when we actually step in and start doing audits and evaluating where they are, there's a lot of gaps, right? So we'll just go through a few of those and what we've found. So the first one, I think it's a standard one where all of us have access to LLMs, paid or free. And what organizations assume is that if you give people access to a GPT or Copilot, people will use it. And that's kind of happening. We are using it but the use cases are limited, where people use it to edit emails, maybe summarize documents, build documents for themselves, but nothing beyond that. So the kind of productivity increase that we're looking for isn't actually happening.
Mm.
The second one is our people are curious and they will learn. What's the risk with this approach where you're just assuming people will learn?
Yeah, I'd love to hear in the chat, like if people are experiencing this as well. But certainly, one thing I'm seeing is if people are really curious and they will learn, is it's sort of a misnomer because what we're seeing is actually people are potentially not doing anything because they are still very cautious. They are scared. If I do start to do this, then what will it mean for my jobs? What will it mean for the future as part of that?
Yeah, I agree. And what happens more often than not is that learners don't actually know how to apply this at work. I think curiosity doesn't translate to capability or confidence. Sometimes it just stays at curiosity.
Yeah.
Um, and then the second one, third one, sorry, is workshops and awareness sessions, right? And a lot of times, people think that that's enough. What's your read on this, Jason, from every client partner that you've been speaking to? Do you think that workshops are enough? Do you see people adopting this approach?
Well, it's certainly something that I'm hearing from CLOs, from HR professionals, where they're saying, "Look, we're doing lots of work. In fact, lots of work around awareness, I should say. Some haven't, but majority have got to that point where there's a lot of content out there. You know, they're either using their LinkedIn Learnings, Udemy's, Coursera's to build sort of awareness of content." And I think the why piece is there. They're hearing it from their organizations. Hey, this is a key strategic pillar. We need to do something around this. But I think that's often where it stops. I guess that's one of the curious things for us. The tool usage has become, as you put here, really shallow. It's quite generic. We might be using it for some of our efficiencies or maybe clarifying emails a bit better and things like that. But we're not really getting into the depths of what it can be used for. So that's definitely a prohibitor at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just going to pause here. I think we've have a lot of people that have joined in the last few minutes, and I'm having trouble seeing my screen. So I'm going to stop sharing and just reshare it for everyone. Allow me a minute.
And
Mhm.
whilst you do that, Kathy, I'd love some of the comments that are coming through. So, you know, Arena said success stories and best practices are often not shared widely enough to inspire that level of curiosity and learning is part of it. So I think, yeah, that you're seeing that as well with the sort of the curious piece and getting into it. I think that's definitely showing. We've got Randy, who has shared one of the most immediate and widespread fears is that AI automation will lead to significant job losses. I think you're right. I think we'll talk a little bit about this, but I think what happens in organizations is we jump to tool proficiency and we forget actually to help people go through that level of change around what does it mean for jobs in the future. And so we'll talk a little bit about how you can overcome that as well.
Absolutely. I agree. And the last one I think that we've been hearing is that a lot of organizations have started experimenting, and that's exactly the space that they wanted to be in. Um, but you can step in here as well, and I'd love to hear from everyone in the audience. I think experimenting without knowing what's good and bad and what we're working towards and what we expect as the output, I think is dangerous because then you're just kind of using it for the sake of it. And we do see that happening a little bit with a few organizations that have given access to people. They've done the workshops, people are curious, but consumption is still low, and that experimentation isn't leading to anything.
Yeah, and I think it can also be a little bit dangerous, right, Kathy, because it's
Mhm.
effectively using your driving analogy that you referenced at the beginning. So
Yeah.
saying, hey, go off and experiment in the car, and the first place you're going to go is on the motorway, in the mix of it all. And And really, if you think about any sort of learning, there would be some type of um, safe space to play, to have a go, to
Yeah.
to not to have the consequences that we often see if we to do it in the real world and get it wrong.
I agree. I agree. I think, and this is what we're hearing with a lot of organizations that come to us for support on AI or training for AI. And then we kind of go and we evaluate and we find these issues. And then, obviously, the training and the learning program is to combat these issues and to make sure that organizations are meeting their business goals.
Yeah.
And just coming back to that car analogy that we had in the beginning, and just for everyone that wasn't there when we started it, um, we do think that using AI is a lot like driving a car. The make of it, it doesn't really matter as much. It's the skill of driving the car that really helps. And then you can obviously upgrade the car and start looking at terrains where it's a little bit more difficult to drive it. And that's kind of what AI is like. So you start with something basic, but you do need to learn how to use it. And then that skill kind of translates to other ecosystems or other tools as well. And what I'm also seeing with a lot of organizations is they're kind of coming in and saying, hey, everyone's got to learn to code at this point because everyone needs to be able to do certain things with AI. And that's kind of like sending everyone to Formula One school. But you don't really need that, there's different learners, different roles, different levels, and everyone needs to have frameworks or AI guides almost for the kind of work that they do, right? And that's what we looked at even while we were building the AI Academy. We were like, let's look at the different levels and the kind of skills required at each level to be able to use AI effectively. So individual contributors, for example, they just need to know how to navigate local roads. So that's basic AI fluency for everyday work, right? And some of them might go a little bit further, but that's the bare minimum that I think individual contributors or early career professionals require. Managers, right? These are team leaders. They're a little bit better at driving, so maybe highways, off-road driving, and that translates in the context of AI to critical reasoning, team productivity, scenario planning, and just driving strategic initiatives around AI with their teams, with their peers, with their different stakeholders that they work with. And lastly, you've got CXOs, VPs, so the leadership within the organization. And think of them almost as traffic controllers. So they're sitting behind a screen, they're managing the roads, they're making sure there's no pileups, no accidents happening. And this almost translates to leaders that are looking at risk, they're looking at governance, they're looking at investment into AI. So you see how there's very different use cases at different levels as well. Um, what are your thoughts, Jason? Is it a one size fits all approach that a lot of organizations are implementing right now? Do you see this role based framework coming into play?
I think a lot of people are unsure, but I think a lot, and yeah, again, it'd be great to hear on the chat. We've got lots of people in learning development,
Yeah,
HR. But what I've often found is that quite often where this is stemmed from is the tools have come from our tech centers, our IT, our information centers as part of that. And it's sort of then been launched out to the organization. We're now rolling out Copilot and data lakes and BI tools and things like this, and our own GPTs for the organization. Um, and the sort of the instruction has been, right, we all need to adopt AI. But I think there's been a blanket approach that has been taken. It's sort of like, okay, we need to do something, and so that blanket approach has been taken. But as you said here, I think what we're trying to say is actually it needs to be horses for courses, right? We need to have the right lane, the right things in for organizations. And I think CXOs and VPs, often what we're seeing actually is, yes, they do need the leadership element. They need to be sort of paving the way ahead and trying to pick out some of the roadblocks that are going to get in the way and think about that from a strategic level. But often we're finding more and more that they're actually doing some of the foundational things first and foremost as well. They need to learn how to drive the car even before they're
yeah.
navigating roads and laying the road out in front for everyone. So it's been interesting to see that.
I agree, and I'd love to hear from the audience as well. If you are training for AI, what's your approach within your organization? Do you have, and Irina did point out that she's invited early adopters to kind of showcase how AI is being used. I think That peer-led approach is definitely something that works. You see your peers doing something really cool, you want to do it as well. But what else? Others in the chat, if you can also help us understand what you're doing, that would be great. But just coming back to the analogy, I think when we did start looking at simulations for AI, the intention wasn't to get people to start using certain tools, but it was really to build that confidence and capability to understand the technology and then implement it, to evaluate it, to look at it in the context of work. And we did apply a role-based or a level-based framework to kind of build that solution itself. So we came up with 3 simulations to start off with. And simulations almost are like that driving simulator or the simulator that pilots use, where you're kind of going in and you're practicing, you're evaluating, you're just testing yourself and seeing if that works or not. So with level 1, which is AI, we call it AI Edge. It is essentially for individual contributors, anyone that's looking to just build basic understanding and knowledge of AI and how it's applied in the workplace. So focused on how I would look at it, what would be the security and privacy issues that I would face in my work. AI Elevate takes that a step further, and you're looking at managers. So how do you drive implementation of AI? How do you manage anxiety at work if someone's feeling anxious about using AI? How do you make sure that you're communicating effectively with your team as well on adoption for AI? And the last one, of course, is level 3, which is for leaders, functional heads, department heads, strategy leads. And the intention here is to help leaders think a little bit more critically about enterprise-wide transformation in the context of AI. So how am I making decisions? How am I aligning to different stakeholders like my board, different employees as well? What kind of investment do I need to make? What's the trade-off? And how do I really build trust in this technology? And that's what the simulations do. I think at each level, they focus at very specific skills that are required for different learners at different levels.
A few people have asked for the slides. They will be given to you at the end. Yeah, we'll send those out to you as well.
I think Randy has a comment as well about what they've been doing to train their workforce on AI. And this is great. I think articulating the why and the what is so important, and that it's not here to replace jobs. It's honestly just augmenting, almost extending your capability, and that's the intention.
I think that's so important, Randy, what you've highlighted there, because when you look at organizations, and certainly where we've often been engaging with organizations, that why is really not very clear. And I think that's when there isn't a clear why and that's not communicated effectively, that can often be where people will fill those gaps with their own sort of thoughts, feelings, and rightly or wrongly, they'll sort of fill that gap and input it. And so I think that's where a lot of the scarcity comes from. Is people just missing either the intent or the why behind why we're doing this.
Absolutely. And for those of you that haven't worked with Nordscape, maybe you're new to our webinar series as well, what we do want to do is give you a glimpse of what the simulation actually looks like. So the next part of what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pulling up AI Edge, which is the first simulation in the series that is for individual contributors or anyone that's just trying to build their knowledge of AI. And for the demo itself, we're going to use the wireframes for me to set the context, to tell you what the story is like. And then we're going to move into the simulation. And we'd love for you to also answer the questions that the simulation is throwing at you in the chat and enter those in, and we'll see what kind of responses we get.
Cool.
Right. Let me bring that up for you. There is a little bit of audio as well, so I'm going to be sharing my sound. And
I love that Vivid shared that we are doing a trial of these simulations of AI from ourselves at Nullscape, at Ericsson Service Delivery these days. Great feedback from the trialists so far. across all modules. That's brilliant to hear, Vivek. And one of the things we're saying.
Sorry about that. There you go. Sorry about that.
No, yeah, I think we'll show this. But if anybody on the call as part of this would like to experience these simulations and maybe go through it yourselves in a bit of a trial, we're happy to set that up. We'll actually share a link later where you can do that. But Kathy, yeah, take us through it. Let's see some of the simulations in action.
Absolutely. So our simulations essentially put the learner in the role of a fictional organization and a fictional role. So you're really taking on that role, and it is almost in the day in the life of format. So it mimics what a modern worker goes through on a day-to-day basis. You're getting into Teams meetings, you're getting into calls, you're getting messages from your team members, maybe your peers, clients as well. And through that, you're really being thrown problem statements at, and you have to kind of make decisions on the go. And all of these simulations are timed, and there are different scenarios. So you go from problem statement to problem statement within that, where you're being tested for your knowledge and your application. So that's essentially how that works. Now, in this one specifically, you are Remy. You are a manager for digital transformations at an organization called Quantum Vertex. Right. And once we start the simulation, what we do is we walk you through what the organization does.
Your HR manager. As you know, Novatech is a top professional services firm that provides innovative, value-added solutions to help businesses across industries become future ready. Now that you've completed your project training, I trust you clearly understand how to identify and address our clients' needs and effectively drive projects to success. I'm excited to share that you'll be a part of a major project for a US-based high-tech manufacturing client, being led by Santiago Perez as the project director. You will report to Amy Jackson, one of our principal consultants. Your main responsibilities will include...
So we explained to you what the organization does, what the org structure is like, what your responsibilities are. And then you move in and you start meeting your team. So in this case, your manager.
You've been a part of Quantum Vertex QV for 8 years and have been doing a fantastic job of managing manager digital transformations. We want you to lead QV's AI readiness initiative and encourage the adoption and implementation of A-Assist across different business units. The decisions you make as part of your role will help create a meaningful impact leading to organizational growth. This will involve understanding and helping others understand AI tools and capabilities, guiding difficult conversations on ethical challenges regarding AI use, increase AI adoption by facilitating change, assessing the impacts of AI tools and considering their long-term implication.
This is our goal within the simulation, right? Where you've been put into this project and you've been given certain goals. So in this case, your job is to communicate effectively about AI, to be able to explain to people what it does, how it functions. And throughout the simulation, you're also meeting all these different stakeholders that you see on the screen now. And they've all got very different thought processes and ways of communicating. So like with any workplace, you go into a meeting, you might have a thought or an opinion about something, an idea about something, and there might be people that immediately agree with you, and then there might be people that say, hey, wait, no, this isn't working. Can you explain it better? Or I don't want to do this at all. So the AI avatars that you speak to during the simulation also have different personalities and different personas. So it really does mimic what happens in the workplace when you're trying to build something new or bring new technology in. Now, all of our simulations have 2 core components. There are 2 objectives that you have to meet within this. So within the 45 minutes that the AI Edge simulation runs, you have an AI analyst score where we are assessing your ability to analyze the benefits, risks, and challenges with AI adoption. And then you've got an AI communicator score, which is almost, can you do advocacy around AI and help people adopt ethical practices? You will see a 70% and a 4 out of 5 here. Now, that doesn't mean that if you don't hit the score within 45 minutes, you've lost the simulation or the game, as it were. But it means that maybe you have a little bit more work to do if you haven't hit that score. And we'll be showing this to you as well all of the simulations come with a report at the end of it, so you will know where you've done well and where you haven't. The objectives are tied in the back to about 4 to 5 different competencies that are being tested. So you get a score on those as well within the report. Now I'm going to start the simulation. I'll do the first scenario with you on the screen through the wireframes, and then we'll move to the simulation itself and see what the other scenarios look like. And we're just doing this right now in the interest of time because we do have only 60 minutes and we want to show you what it looks like. So for those of you that are playing the simulation the first time, we do give you a walkthrough of the screen. You can go back and see the information that was given to you at the beginning. And you can exit the simulation at any point and come back, and it won't time out. It would just start again where you left off. So each simulation that we do has scenarios in it, and every scenario essentially has a different problem statement or area of discussion, is testing different skills as well. So the first one you see.
As you know, a key goal for us this quarter is to become AI ready by leveraging AI to enhance our work processes. I have Remy here with me, who is leading this initiative. Remy, why don't you start by explaining what is AI in simple words for everyone's benefit?
You'll also notice that within the scenarios or within the simulation itself, it's almost scaffolded, right? So we start with something that's really simple by just testing your knowledge. And then once you've passed that, we move into application and we move into seeing whether you can apply that knowledge as well, right? So each progressive scenario gets more difficult as you move through it. And what also happens is within the scenario, we first make sure that you understand what the problem is that's being communicated, and then you're offering solutions. Now, there's different input methods as well, where I can record my audio. The system takes that in, gives me a response, and I can type my audio out as well. So this specific scenario needs me to record my audio. Now I've done that. The transcript shows up. If I'm happy with it, I'll send it out.
This all sounds great on paper, but how do we know AI is actually going to be useful for our business? It seems like just another tech fad that's going to drain our resources.
As you can see, there's pushback coming in already. Someone on the call is not very happy about it. And then you record your response again. And you send that in.
Thanks.
And once the scenario ends, you get a score immediately, or feedback immediately on whether you've been able to meet those, meet the requirements on the system or not. Now, I'm very quickly going to move into the simulation as well. I did play the first 2 scenarios in the simulation and stop at the third one, so you can see how the complexity within the simulation also increases as you move along. As soon as the simulation loads, we'll start. So this is the third scenario within the simulation where, again, we're moving into a team call.
Hi all, glad to see everyone here. Today, I was hoping to discuss how your teams have received AI Assist, what your challenges are, and what's next for us.
Amy and Remy, I have a question about using AI tools in my function. Retail banking, even with all this new tech, is still a people-intensive area. Our purpose is to provide the best care based on our customers' needs. This is the way we have always done things. How do you foresee AI tools impacting our purpose?
Thanks for bringing that up, Raj. Remy, this is an important question that applies to many functions. Could you share your thoughts on the role of AI in such areas and its potential impacts on people and processes?
So now we're expected to record our response. Now, before I record my response, I do want to check in the chat, does anyone want to take a stab at it? Do you want to maybe give me an answer that I can speak into the system?
Let's see if anyone's brave enough to go forward and
Yeah.
but if it's wrong, it just for to give you a bit of a taste, because you will get a different response back depending on obviously your response.
Absolutely. So, I mean, if you do give a wrong answer, the system will prompt you to give the right answer. So that's okay.
We've got
Then
no brave souls putting their foot forward yet, but
why don't I do this? Why don't I take this one up so people
yeah,
can
go
see
on, you
how
give it a
it's
go.
done, and then we can kind of start. So I'm going to record my response. Thanks, Amy and Raj. I think that we can still use AI while also keeping our customers' needs at the center of what we do. For example, certain AI systems can help us reduce the turnaround time, and certain AI systems can also help us with customer queries and solving those faster. So I've recorded my response. I think it's okay. I don't want to edit it. I'm going to send it out.
Thanks for highlighting how AI can speed up turnaround times and improve query resolution. Could you also share your thoughts on any potential challenges or negative impacts AI might bring to our people and processes? Understanding both sides will help us plan better.
I just want to highlight before we move into my next response, where in my first response, I only highlighted the positives, whereas the question to me was potential impacts on people and processes, right? So that's positive and negative. So the system then prompts me to look at the negative as well. And throughout the scenarios, that's what happens. You're given about 4 or 5 chances to really give a complete answer. So even if you said, I don't know initially, the system would have prompted you to give a specific answer and helped you almost get there, right? So I'm going to, again, open this up to the audience. Does anyone want to try the negative impact that AI might have on people and processes?
Again, is anyone going to be brave enough to go forward?
That's okay. I mean, we can share logins with you and then you can play this on your own time as well. But after this one response, I think I'll stop and show you what the report looks like. And then we can show you how we've been using this with different organizations to really drive mindset, confidence, and capability.
And we've got actually a comment from Vivek who says AI does not know the context and there may be different interpretation. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. So I think especially with customer support, AI might not know the context and the different interpretations of what people are asking it. So it might not be able to support customers without human intervention. Oh, that's surprising. Let me go again. Thanks, Amy. I think sometimes AI might not be able to understand the context in which a customer might be asking a question or raising a query. So they might not get the right kind of support. So we have to be mindful of that. I don't think it takes away from having human intervention. I think it just supports human intervention. Okay, I'm happy with that answer.
This, if it comes up with some of the things that Irina has put as well around.
Absolutely, Remy. AI's limitations in context understanding mean human insight remains crucial. When combined, AI can handle routine tasks swiftly, freeing our teams to focus on personalized care, strengthening both efficiency and empathy in our customer interactions. This balance is key to advancing our purpose.
Okay, let's say there are more pros than cons about adopting AI more and more in our workflows. But that doesn't mean that our teams are going to embrace it wholeheartedly. I'll have people resisting either out of a lack of know-how or out of fear that they are training their own replacements.
Absolutely. Whatever you may say, our teams won't be convinced so easily. How can we assure them that greater AI adoption won't be used as a reason to let them go?
Right. We'll just wait for Amy's response.
You are right, Raj and Santiago. These are major fears that stop people from adopting AI. But Remy, you had a strategy in mind to help people adapt. Please share it in this forum for everyone's benefit.
The reason I wanted the conversation to complete is because in the first two questions that the system threw at us, it was just checking for our understanding. If we're able to think about it in a certain context, and now it's asking us for an action plan in terms of how we intend to communicate with different stakeholders on this. But I'll pause here because the simulation is 45 minutes long and it does take that much time to finish it. But I did want to show everyone the report that we get once the simulation is over. So immediately after you finish the simulation, you do get an 11-page report. It's quite detailed. And the report itself looks at your score. So we give you an overall score for that simulation. And what you're seeing here is essentially insight that's personalized to each and every person that plays it. So if Jason and I were to play this simulation, we would actually get two different insights from the system here. You're given a score on your objectives. Did you meet them? Did you not? And then we break this down further into competencies for our learners, right? So across these 4 competencies, how did you do? And what you can do better. So it does really deep dive into that. And we do train organizations on how to use this report and also how to debrief this with their learners. It also kind of serves as a benchmark to see whether teams are doing well or not. So you're really breaking that mirage or that illusion of everyone actually knowing how to use AI. I'll stop there and come back to the presentation.
There's a few questions as well, Kathy, just to highlight as well.
Absolutely.
So I'll just pick some of those off in the chat. So we've got one that is talking about, can these be customized for different roles? The short answer to that is yes. Often we work with organizations who want to create custom role-based simulations. As part of that, they might be your specific competencies or skill areas that you're trying to focus on. Might be your context, your world. You want to create a day in the life of your world as part of that. You can completely do that. I'm just looking through some of the other ones there. And Kathy, you might be able to answer some of these. How do we implement it in a client environment, ensuring security? So that's one of the questions that has also come up.
Absolutely. And I think just on security, we are GDPR compliant. A lot of different organizations that have sensitive information, for example, in the financial space, do use our simulations. And we ensure that we're not capturing any private personal data. We're ensuring that the data isn't being used. We do build LLMs on top of the AI that we're working with. So there is a guardrail and a fence in terms of the kind of responses you're getting and what's happening with those responses. And of course, there's certain organizations that come and say, hey, you can't store our data beyond a certain point. So that's something that we're also mindful of. So when we do implement these, we do speak with your tech and IT teams to understand what it would look like for us to implement those.
And that's really helpful. Thanks, Kathy. And one other question that's coming is, will it recognize all types of pronunciation? As someone with a different mother tongue, maybe how does that impact as we're inputting? Does it understand that? How will it respond?
Absolutely. I think if you want to customize to a different language, that's also possible. We do have clients in Turkey, for example, and in parts of Southeast Asia that do use our simulation. So we do translate it. The AI system works well with other languages as well. And with the English accent, I think, again, it's being used in about 20 plus countries at this point. So we haven't had challenges with the system understanding someone's accent. But with that being said, sometimes when you record your response, it doesn't transcribe it effectively. So you do have the option to go and edit that response as well. So we are making sure that it is as inclusive as we can make it. I am being mindful of time though, so I'll very quickly move into how we've implemented these simulations with a couple of our clients in the last couple of months, and then we can spend a couple more minutes on Q&A. But if you all have any questions that you want to ask, that you want answered immediately, you can leave them in the chat or the Q&A, and I think Jason can take them up. Outside of that, if any of you do want to try our simulation, you don't want to wait to get in touch with us, please do scan this QR code, register with your email ID, and we will send you demo logins immediately. So you can try them and see if those work for you. And I think something that Jason and his team do really well is once you've tried the simulation, you can come to us with the report and we can help debrief that for you so you can get a sense of what it would be like for learners that are logging in from your companies as well, if you do choose to implement this. Okay, we'll give it 30 more seconds. And we'll also leave the link to this form in the chat. So if you don't have, you can't scan the QR code, you just want the link to the form, that's also fine. Just very quickly, I think in the next 2 minutes, if we could just speak a little bit about the framework that we use when we look at education for AI as well. Jason, do you want to come and speak about how we've done this at scale for different organizations?
Yeah, I think this is a really important part to highlight, and this is really stemmed from organizations, learning development leads, and HR leads sort of saying, "Hey, we've been tasked to build AI readiness inside our organizations. We're not sure where to start, and so we built this framework as part of that." And this sort of it is a framework we use across our solutions. But the first key element is around evaluate. And benchmarking actually where you are as an organization, both an organizational level, but also a person level as well, in terms of what we need to do there. And so we have different ways in doing that. We have some of your more traditional sort of assessment approaches, but we combine that with things like the simulations to help give some feedback in terms of where we are as an organization. And that often fuels, and I think someone said it needs to be different for the different roles, and they're thinking about competencies for those roles. That often fuels then what needs to be done in terms of the education. Not everyone needs to start their education at a novice level. Some might be further advanced than others. And so we help support organizations then with that level of knowledge and learning that they need, depending on where they're at in their journey. And then the big part, obviously, that's often where we find traditional learning stops. We want to take that further into more of a experiential space, again, using these digital simulations to help with that, where people can actually have that safe environment to practice, to learn by doing rather than learning by listening. And they get to go through the simulations, they get their own unique report that fuels the organization's talent analytics to say, where do we need to double down on, or perhaps double click on to go a bit further. And with many organizations, there's an organization that I want to reference at the moment, which I think are doing some amazing work in this space, where they've actually said, look, we really need to make transition our learning development function into a value add function, not a cost center in our organization. And so they're really leveraging it alongside certain hackathons, AI clinics. They're taking the CEO challenge, around some of the key strategic pillars, and they're implementing this against those and actually running those and bringing in things like design thinking to help with AI and innovation and agile ways of thinking alongside AI readiness to help really drive that inside the organization. So some really cool stuff. And the big piece then is when we go back to the day job and start to apply this day in, day out, how are we enabling that across our peers? And so we do that through a number of experts that we have, either through, how do we use certain tools effectively after we built the foundations that we need to give us a good platform for that. But also we have an AI coach that also supports people in the moment as and when they need it. So if you're running a project, you want to speak to someone about maybe some of the privacy issues that you're worried about, or how you might shape, getting buy-in from your colleagues. Again, the coach will help you with that as well in the moment as and when you need it.
Thank you for that, Jason. And we did this as a pilot with a very large BFSI company, and we started with about 100 people, where we went in, we did an impact analysis, figured out what wasn't working for them, even though a lot of the managers or the learners that were coming into the course actually were tech friendly, they understood technology, but AI itself was a little bit of a challenge for them. So we curated this journey using the 4E framework, where after the evaluation, we kind of went in, taught them about AI in business, data, database decision making. We also did sessions on the kind of tools that they're using based on their tech stack, and then moved into the experience and enable part, where we did use our AI Elevate simulation to just kind of see how that learning was landing, whether people were able to apply it. And post that, the learners went into a 20-hour pilot action learning plan, where they actually took those learnings and then started applying it to projects they'd chosen in the workplace, along with their managers and with L&D. And by the end of it, we did see a 50% jump in proficiency in understanding AI and using it. So the simulations and the method that we've used, in my experience, I think does seem to work, as opposed to the one-off sessions that a lot of companies might be doing.
Brilliant.
With that, I think we've come to the end, and we're just in time. We can take another 2 minutes in case any of you have any questions for us. And again, the QR code is here. Should you want to scan it, register to get the demo login as well. And if you're not sure about playing it and you just want to speak to us, that's also fine. You can let us know in the chat, and we'll set up a quick call with you to help you understand where you are and what you could do next.
Thanks, Kathy. And I'm just looking at the chat. If there's any questions, please pop them in there. We'll answer those. We will be able to share the slides. There is a link to the previous session as well, and we've got another one coming up. So we can share those as well, so you're able to access the previous and join our next one as well in the series within this. And yeah, as Kathy said, if you'd like to try the simulation, just to see, even just to see how you benchmark, and get your own score, please do have a go. It's very engaging, very insightful.
Thank you everyone for joining in. We'll stay on for another minute. Please do leave your questions, and please do give us feedback as well. We'd love to keep meeting you and improving the kind of insights we're sharing and what we're speaking about.
Some people are still answering the feedback, so we'll make sure that we stay on. So your feedback's so valuable, so please do share that.
Yeah, and do let us know what topics you'd like to hear about next. I think within the organization, we're constantly speaking to different stakeholders around the world, and if we can bring those insights to you, it would be great. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining in. It was a pleasure hosting this for you, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much. Goodbye.